Well, hey guys, welcome to our sports show, What You Think. I'm your host, RJ, for today, and here's my co-host, Brad. And today we're going to talk about, first we're going to go into college football. We're going to talk about the recent news, as many people heard that Ohio State's head coach, Urban Meyer, will retire after the Rose Bowl. It's a topic near and dear to my heart. So, Brad, what do you think about that?
Obviously, it's been rough the last 24, the last month or so, because the rumor started about a month ago that due to health conditions that Urban Meyer would possibly have to step down this year due to the cyst he has in his brain that was found back in 2014. Mm-hmm. And obviously the start to this season with the whole Zach Smith thing didn't help. So I figure as a head college football coach, you already have enough pressure on you as it is, especially being at Ohio State, where you're expected to win titles, if not get as close to it as you can. It's very unfortunate. He's one of the best coaches I've ever seen in college football, and he's going to be missed. But I think he'll be ready, or when he steps down, Ryan will be ready to step in.
Okay, that's a good observation. Well, I agree with most of what you said. Obviously, with Urban Meyer, he's being one of the greatest coaches in our era. Basically putting 4 teams on the map, winning 4 championships. Mm-hmm. Obviously, health issues were really a main reason why, a main part as why he left. Obviously, with the cyst and mm-hmm. causing migraines, what have you. So, I think that was also a big part. But I also think that Zach Smith, like you said, I agree. The Zach Smith situation didn't help at all because of how he handled the situation. But I think that's really the only thing that that will be criticized as far as his legacy. But I think other than that, he's obviously been one of the greatest coaches that I've seen personally in my years. Because obviously, he started Bowling Green. He took them from winning to losing. Mm-hmm. Utah, he took them from losing to winning. Mm-hmm. Florida,
2
he
national
kept winning
championships.
with 2 national championships. Ohio State, after the whole thing with Jim Tressel, him getting fired and all the players getting suspended for that whole situation, and he brought them back up and made basically Ohio State relevant again, and also so I think that really his legacy has been all about winning. So I think that it's kind of sad knowing that the Rose Bowl is going to be his last game, but I think that as motivation for Ohio State, the football team, to win one for Urban Meyer,
send him outright.
Yeah. Now, as far as Urban Meyer, do you think that this is he really is done with coaching?
I'd like to think no, but again, having a cyst, not being fully educated on how bad cysts could be, like you said, they can cause migraines. I'm not sure to the extent, but maybe at a lower level, because I'm watching the press conference today. He said that he plans to remain around Ohio State football as much as he can. And I feel like whatever assistance he can provide from like the backside, he will. But I just don't feel like will we see him coach again? If his health is really as they say it is, I don't think we'll be seeing him in the head coaching position again. But I wouldn't doubt that we see him in a back role, giving advice to Ohio State. Being a graduate and being the legendary coach he is there.
Okay, I just wanted to know because he said the same thing when he was at Florida. Mm-hmm. That he wasn't going to coach for a while, and then obviously he came back
change.
2 years later.
Things change.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure either how it's going to go as far as Urban, because you never know what he's going to do. But,
we'll see.
We're going to see in the near future. Mm-hmm. Next, we got the college football playoff rankings. Number 1, Bama. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Notre Dame. And then we have at number 4, Oklahoma Sooners. And then to round out the top 6, Georgia at 5 and Ohio State at 6. So, Brad, do you agree with these rankings?
For the most part, yeah. From the second they released the top 4, and you heard me say it for 20 minutes probably afterwards, is that I didn't agree on Notre Dame getting in. I've never been a big Notre Dame supporter, but I know how to separate that from just pure fact. They had the one good win against Michigan earlier on, but that was before Michigan really hit their stride and became number 1 defense in the nation and offensively hit the stride. They don't play in a conference in college football. So unlike schools like Ohio State, Alabama, who had to go through a showdown with Georgia, Clemson's, who even though it was Pittsburgh, an ACC showdown. I don't agree with a Final Four member having to sit the weekend out while these other top 3 teams had to battle it out and nearly lose their spots. Like Oklahoma, say for Oklahoma loses, they're not going to be in the Final Four. I believe if Clemson it would have been different if Clemson had lost, because Clemson still would have been 11-1, 12-1, but losing to Pittsburgh may have shocked a lot of other people, and it might have gotten them out. Alabama loses, they still might get in, but Georgia's definitely in if they get it. So it's hard for me to believe that up to this point, even though Notre Dame does have a good win and they are undefeated, how we allow a non-conference champion to get, like someone or a team without a conference championship to get in. Honestly, I think if we're going to let Notre Dame in like that, we might as well have let Georgia in again, regardless of 2 losses.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But however, as far as the committee, obviously, when you're undefeated, bam, they're gonna let you in regardless if you're champion or not.
But we want to go that route. UCF is undefeated, and they're undefeated the last 2 years.
Yeah, but then again, they're probably gonna go as the committee. They probably looked at UCF's strength of schedule, and they probably went with the other 6 teams. You know what I'm saying? Because
UCF finished, 7th?
Yeah.
Because we want to talk about strength of schedule. We look through the Notre Dame schedule. They played Vandy, schools like that. And their only real game was Michigan.
Those chances went down the drain, but it is what it is. Like I said, I'll be grateful for my Rose Bowl bid.
I just know I'll be the biggest Clemson fan you've ever seen come Final Four weekend. Go Tigers.
I don't know if you want to say all that now.
Down goes the Irish.
Not just me still watching my Buckeyes. I'll just watch as a regular schmegular fan.
I can't say anything. UNC's in the couch potato bowl, which means I'm going to be sitting on my couch like a potato watching them do nothing.
But as I said, as we discussed, with the sort of like flaws in the committee, and also the different, all these questions that we have. Do you think the college playoffs do you think they should expand right now, or maybe down the road?
At first, I wasn't really with the idea of expansion, just because you think about it, a Final Four is kind of sets the idea of pure competition. Like, those 4 teams were obviously the best of them all, and that's how it was. Like, you remember the first 2 years or so when it became a thing, it was easy to tell who the best 4 teams were. We didn't have like all these back and forths like we do now, where like some teams, like I don't think Notre Dame should deserve to get in. Then we have this whole, does Georgia deserve to get in because they lost to Alabama and they're the biggest threat, people would say, to Alabama. Then you got the whole other cases. I think the last 2 years or so, it's kind of been pushing more and more that we need an expansion, so that way we do 8. It would give more entertainment, more sports fans will be licking their lips about people getting in. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a test, just 1 year tester of it, see how it goes. We wouldn't have to argue about who deserves top 4 anymore, even though Notre Dame's still in.
Me personally, I'm not sure. I'm not quite positive either. I mean, I see both sides of why they should expand to give more teams that people may think they deserve a chance, but I can see why not, only because, granted, yes, the 4 teams, it is still fairly new, and they still been trying to improve it as far as the different metrics and different things
how it appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll just have to see what they do. I mean, because we look back, a lot of people didn't like the idea of a 14 playoff format at first, and now it's a big money maker.
Yeah,
mostly because Roll Tide runs it. But.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm glad we won our annual 2014 national champs, but that was about 4 years ago, so it's whatever now. But yeah. So now we moving on to the NFL. As many people may or may not know, Kareem Hunt just recently got released by the Kansas City Chiefs for the TMZ video that got released. So really what happened was, obviously, something happened, with the woman and Kareem Hunt, and then obviously he didn't like what she had to say or whatever, so they got in an argument outside the hall, and then you can see in the video he pushed the girl, she falls, and then he comes back and pushes his friend into the girl, so she's hurt even more, and then he decides to kill her. So obviously, my take on it, really, with the video, it's out there now. It is what it is. He can't really, it's basically inexcusable, only because in the NFL, with the more domestic violence and sexual assault issues that's been happening with the current NFL players, actually, they gotta be more strict and be more enforce more of their authority and power as far as those kinds of issues, especially since what happened with Ray Rice. If we want to think about it, ever since Ray Rice, that whole situation happened, they've been cracking down more on athletes doing what players have to do with domestic violence and sexual assault. So really, it's inexcusable. He can't really defend himself on those videos out. And then on top of that, he, from sources he lied. About what actually happened. He probably said something along the lines, probably like he didn't hit her, or he didn't put his hands on her. But obviously, when the video happened, now
it's all out.
Now your business is out there basically. So now they had to release him. Now he's on the exempt list. So it's unfortunate, for him, because he's really a great player. And he's been one of the top running backs ever since he came in.
Led the league in rushing his rookie year.
Yeah, led the league in rushing. Yeah, as you said, his rookie year. But can't have nothing. Really had nothing to say after that one though.
It's unfortunate, as you said, that the NFL has to do something about it. Ever since the whole Ray Rice thing came about, they had to put their necks in it, and it was recently released that he's an unclaimed free agent now, but being on the exempt list, he can't have any contact from any NFL executives, GMs, managers. Having seen the video, now granted, putting my personal touch on it first, I don't believe a man should ever in an intentional harm of way put hands, feet, anything on a woman, on any other person in general, but on a woman especially. But having watched the video, my tipping point for it was, because if you watch the video specifically, it was back and forth shoving between the two, multiple people getting in on it. But the tipping point that I thought that really put the video over the edge, like you said, was the kick at the end. Because obviously people were trying to separate them. They were both shoving each other back and forth. And there's reports in it that the whole start of it was because she was using racial slurs, with Kareem Hunt, and that infuriated him. Obviously, the shoving back and forth, that shouldn't happen. But the whole video, my tipping point was when he kicked. Because if the video releases and you tell them it was just shoving because this and this happened, it's easier to clear a case for something like that. If it was just shoving back and forth, people get upset all the time and shove. But if you kick somebody like that that's on the ground, that's when I thought that his fate was kind of sealed. On top of the fact he lied to the Chiefs apparently about what happened. So
switching from NFL to the NBA. Obviously, as some of you may not know, Patrick Beverley, he got fined by the NBA for being ejected against, who was it, the Mavericks?
Yes.
Against the Mavericks for throwing the ball at a fan. Reports is that he, obviously they were talking some trash, but what happened was the fan who Patrick Beverley was talking to, he had mainly he told Patrick Beverley that he sucked or whatever. So it was actually he was talking trash back and forth or whatever. And then the fan proceeds to say, "Your mother." And then Patrick Beverley obviously gets mad, throws the ball at him, and then he gets ejected, and then he gets fined. So what's your take on it?
Obviously, I'm not a fan of, personally, especially you and I having been in basketball situations where fans are around, we know that some fans, especially if you're the away team, home fans can be very aggressive with what they say and the things they say. And I think that's one thing a lot of people don't take into consideration is how aggressive home fans can be against visiting teams, the things they can say. I know, I remember a couple years ago with Duke and NC State, an NC State player was at the free throw line, and his grandmother just passed away, and there were Duke fans asking, "How's your grandmother doing?" So, I mean, we obviously know that home fans can be verbally aggressive. Do I think Patrick Beverley had to throw a ball at him? I mean, no, because, I mean, there's nothing to gain out of it. And at that point, all it did was hurt the Clippers and hurt his pocket. So I don't think it was necessary, but I do think that maybe this will get people to kind of understand that how bad it can really be for visiting teams in any atmosphere and how rough fans are. Because, I mean, I've heard, so I know you probably have too, I've heard some, in times like visiting for basketball, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of disgusting things. Players don't want to listen to fans or have to interact with fans. They want to go out there and play, do their job, and get a W and get out. Like, no player is going in there intentionally thinking, oh, I wonder what the fans are going to say today so I can start something with somebody. So it's usually always going to. Now, as a player, can players be upset sometimes? And if they hear fans hassling them, could they slip every now and then? It's happened. We saw KD do it against the Magic when the fans weren't really saying anything. But I think it falls on the fans. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trash talk. If fans, like when I would go to a visiting, or where we were visiting, I have no issue with fans trash talking because it feeds into it, makes it fun. But you start bringing like family members into it. I mean, it'd be like if you and I went on the road for a tournament like to Ohio State, and one of the fans, especially like being as close as we are, if one of them said something about one of our moms or family members, being as close as we are, neither of us would take lightly to that. Because I mean, it's just something you don't do. Say the team's crap, say you're playing bad, talk trash. Don't bring people's families into it. You wouldn't want them doing that to you. I mean, they're here to play basketball. They're not here to go back and forth with a fan that's had a couple drinks too many, maybe.
So, do you think that maybe they should implement say if like a fan gets ejected or something? Do you think they should implement bans in courtside on games, or they should get fined or something like that?
Well, as just excluding fans, I feel like it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe push the seating back for fans maybe a couple feet, maybe 10, 15 feet. Now, obviously, would it make it harder to see? Would people complain? Yeah, but I mean, if fans are just going to harass players and cause scenes like that, then what else do you want? NBA or whatever level it is, what else do you want them to do? I mean, they're trying to play basketball, and you're harassing them.
Okay, I just thought it was interesting, only because if he said your mother.
Oh no! If
Patrick Beverley.
If I had been Patrick Beverley, and I hear someone say your mom, blah blah blah, your friend, your mom, I would have gone into the stands. I'm surprised he just threw a ball, especially knowing how Patrick Beverley is a very emotionally hot-headed player. I'm surprised he didn't go into the stands because I would have. But
that's your reputation online. Then again, you got everything to lose only because you're,
in the NBA,
you
have an image.
Yeah, you have an image.
It's all judgment call, but I think it's on fans. But
okay. Well, that's all our topics that we have for today. I'm RJ.
I'm Brad.
That's Brad. And thank you for listening to What You Think. We'll see you next time.